All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. I got another video for you. As always, just want to say thanks to anybody who watches my videos or subscribes to my channel or both. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Share the video, all those things that pretty much everybody else tells you. I would very much appreciate it. In this video here, I find something very interesting. I was looking at the greatest wing players or perimeter players of all time. I've done videos about these type players before. And that is bad shooting games. And when I say best perimeter players, I'm going to have to exclude the older school ones. So anybody who started before the merger, I'm going to leave them out. So for me, that would be like Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Dr. J, Oscar Robertson. They won't be included in this because they started pre-merger. And a lot of their field goal percentages just weren't that good because the rims were terrible. The backboards hung by wire. They had a small vibration to them and all that, and they didn't have the soft breakaway rims. So if you try to ever compare the field goal percentages of the players from the 50s, 60s, and even into the early 70s, compare that to the players of the modern era, then yeah, it's going to be night and day. Of course, you have to take those things into consideration. No blanket comparisons, you can't do that, and I've done videos on that. It's stupid to even try. So basically, I got 7 players, and they are Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan. Now, all these players played different amounts of games, and they played in different eras. Some of them shot more three-pointers, but some of them also played, especially in the last 10 to 12 years or so, definitely the last 8 to 10 years for sure. They played in a lot softer defensive era where, defense is hamstrung to a certain degree. There's no defensive 3 seconds. There's no more hand checking. Illegal screens are not only not called, it almost seems like they're encouraged. You're allowed to palm the ball, which really helps you in the direction you want to go. You can almost fake somebody out like it's football. You have your step back shot that creates more space for you to get your shot off. So I think it kind of evens the playing field for the players like Larry and Magic Johnson who, started in the early 80s because they had to deal with hand checking and defensive 3 seconds and all that. And they didn't get all the other stuff. But yeah, Bird did shoot threes, but maybe some of the modern players shot more threes. But to me, taking it all into consideration, I think it's pretty much a wash. But anyway, so what I'm looking at is players in the playoffs had a really bad shooting game of under 30%. That's a bad night, okay? We'll start with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant had 9 such games. I think he played like 160. I think he's played around 160 playoff games, something like that. And I won't go through every one of them, but in 2010, actually his very first playoff game he ever played, Kevin Durant at the Lakers, shot 7 for 24, 29.2%. And anyway, his worst playoff shooting game ever. I'll just say that he had 9 games that he shot under 30%. His worst game being in the 2016 first round, game 2 versus Dallas. He went 7 for 33 for 21.2%. That was Durant's absolute worst shooting game. Steph Curry. He played less games. I think he's played like 110, 115 playoff games. I just don't have it in front of me. I wish I did, but I don't. 7 times for him, he had 7 games where he shot under 30%. His worst game would have been in 2019, the first round, game 4. He went 3 for 14, 21.4%. I want to say that might have been Portland or maybe New Orleans. I don't know. But 21.4% was his worst game. So Durant actually had a little lower there. LeBron James, he had 10 games where he shot under 30%. Now, granted, I didn't, I don't have all the information about how many threes everybody shoots, but I do know that LeBron James, probably more than anybody on this list, shot 1/3 of his shots within 3 feet for his career. That's a fact. You can look it up. Of his 10 games, his worst one, and I believe the worst on this list, and that's saying something, was 2008 Eastern Conference Semifinals, Game 1. He goes 2 for 18 for 11.1%. That is his lowest. And he also had 2 instances where he went back-to-back under 30% games. 2007 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7. He goes 3 for 11. That's 27.3%. The very next game was the 2007 Finals, Game 1. He goes 4 for 16, 25%. The other time that it happened was in the 2008 Eastern Conference Semifinals. Game 1, he goes 2 for 18, 11.1%. And then the very next game, in Game 2, he goes 6 for 24, 25%. So he did play more games, but he also shot 1/3 of his shots 3 feet or less from the basket. If you want to, I can run them down. 2006 first round, Game 2 versus Washington. His second playoff game ever. He goes 7 for 25, 28%. 2007 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7. I just talked about that one. 3 for 11, 27.3. 2007 Finals, Game 1. 4 for 16, 25%. 2008 Eastern Conference Semifinals, Game 1. 2 for 18, 11.1%. 2008, the very next game, Game 2. 6 for 24, 25%. 2010 Eastern Conference Semifinals, Game 5. I believe that was against the Bulls. He goes 3 for 14, 21.4%. 2011, first round, Game 1. His very first game on the Heat, he goes 4 for 14, 28.6%. I think that was against Philadelphia. 2011 Finals against Dallas, Game 4. 3 for 11, 27.3%. 2014 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5. He goes 2 for 10, 20%. And then 2023 first round, Game 5. That was against Memphis. He goes 5 for 17, 29.4%. Okay. Let's go to Kobe Bryant. He had 10 games. 1999 first round, Game 3. He goes 5 for 17, 29.4%. 2000 Western Conference Finals, Game 2 versus Portland. He goes 2 for 9, 22.2%. The 2000 Finals, Game 5 against Indiana, and he was coming back from an injury, but 4 for 20, 20%, which as a starter, I did not include his days when he was a bench player because he would get like 2 shots, 5 shots, just not really enough, to even be included on this. But that was his lowest shooting game ever. It was the 2000 Finals, Game 5, 4 for 20 at 20%. The very next game, in Game 6, he goes 8 for 27, 29.6%. And then in 2002 first round, 2003 first round, 2004 first round, 2009 first round, he all had a game where he was, shooting in the 20-some percent. The 2010 Finals, Game 7 versus Boston, he goes 6 for 24, 25%. Somehow they win that game. And the last time was 2011, first round, Game 4. He goes 5 for 18, 27.8%. So his lowest was 20%. And Durant's was 21.4, Curry 21.2. Larry Bird, 10 times also. It's so funny. LeBron, Kobe, and Bird all 10 times shot less than 30%. He had two of these were in the 81 finals, games 3 and 4, exact identical. 3 for 11 in each game, 27.3%. Larry Bird's worst shooting game of his career was the 1983 first round, game 2. He goes 4 for 18, 22.2%. Magic Johnson. Now, Magic's a little tougher because some of these games he didn't even take 10 shots. But he had 13 of them, 13 games where he shot under 30%. But 8 of them, if he shot 10 shots or more. So that's kind of in line. Like he had a couple 2 for 8 games. He had 3 games where he was 2 for 8. One of them he was 2 for 9, and one of them he was 1 for 6. That's just, that's just not enough. But his worst game, though, without a doubt, was the 1983 Western Conference Finals, Game 6. He goes 1 for 6, 16.7%. But again, he's only taking 6 shots. So it's really hard to even call that anything. But, technically that was his worst game. But the one where he took 10 or more shots, his worst game would have been 1983 Finals, Game 3, goes 3 for 12, 25%. And the 88 Western Conference Semifinals, Game 6, 3 for 12, also 25%. Okay. So far, LeBron's 11.1 is by far the worst game. Now, Jordan had a bad game too, but Michael Jordan played 179 playoff games. He only had 4 games where he shot under 30%. That's much less than Magic, Bird, Kobe, LeBron, Curry, Durant, much less than all of them. The only ones he had was his worst game ever, 1993 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 3. The famous one Nick Wright loves to talk about. 3 for 18, 16.7%. But what I find interesting in that game, though, you look at the rest of his stats. He goes 16 for 17 from the line. He had 11 assists and 8 rebounds to make up for his, poor shooting effort. And they won the game by 20 points. So it didn't do anything to, lose the game for him. The other ones are 1996 Finals, Game 6. That was the very last game. 5 for 19, 26.3%. That was that Father's Day game. The closeout game against the Sonics. And then the other 2 games were in the same series. The 97 Eastern Conference Finals against Miami. Game 2 at home, he goes 4 for 15, 26.7%. And Game 4 at Miami, he goes 9 for 35 for 25.7%. But in all 4 of these games, the Knicks in 93 were the number 1 ranked defense. In 96, Seattle was the number 2 ranked defense. And in 97, Miami was the number 1 ranked defense. So he was doing it against, basically the best defense in the league. Even in 96, the Bulls were the number 1 defense. So Seattle was the best defensive team he could have faced. So he only did it against the top defenses he could have faced in four games. That's it. That's the only times he ever shot under 30%. Find that remarkable. But again, out of all these players, all 7, the best perimeter players since the merger, who had the worst game between these 7 players? Not even close. LeBron James. He owns it once again. Michael Jordan had the fewest, and LeBron James had the worst. He had the worst game. So anyway, that's about it for this video. This actually took a long time to research all this. But I just find it very fascinating. I really do. Bird had some bad shooting games. Kobe did too, but he was also in a defensive era. Curry and Durant weren't in a defensive era, but they were in a very offensive-friendly era. But they had right in line with everybody else. Durant 9, Curry 7. That's, right in line with the other guys, pretty much. So, anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching. Till next time.